Hey book besties, welcome back to my channel. My name is Amanda. I obviously love to read. We are here with another video today. I am going to show you guys everything that I am determined to read in 2026. So these are my 26 in 26. You guys have seen over the last couple of months, I have been building my physical library, which means that my physical TBR is made up of probably 80% unread books.
You what?
What can I say? My first goal in 2026 is to pare down my physical TBR and try and get through as much of my physical TBR as possible. I figured the best way to try to meet that goal is by making my 26 and 26 all books from my physical shelf. Hear me out. There are a literal shit ton of super highly anticipated releases coming out in 2026. None of those are on this list. This list is strictly 26 and 26 on my physical TBR. I will do a whole nother video going through my most anticipated releases of 2026. That's a different beast, okay? I didn't want to include that in any of these because, again, my goal is to try and pare down my physical TBR, not to look forward to buying more books for my physical TBR. So anyways, without further ado, the first book that I want to read in 2026, well, not the first one, but these are in no particular order. Let me just say that. The first one that I'm going to grab and show you is Unsteady by Peyton Corrine. I also want to go through and read all the synopses of all of these books for you guys, just in case you also want to read them. I know that most people don't go into books blind. They want to know what it's about in order to read it, so let's read it together. If you know anything about me, you know that I don't ever read the back of a book, the blurb, the synopsis. I like to go into books completely blind, not knowing literally anything about them. But we're trying something new. I want to get excited about these books, so I'm going to read the back. Also, I'll probably forget by the time I want to read it. So Unsteady. Ooh, we have one of my favorite male-made character names, Reese. It says, Reese Koteski is back. At least he's supposed to be. During last year's Frozen Four, the Waterfall University hockey captain and NHL legacy took a brutal hit that left him with a concussion and a new discomfort on the ice. Plagued by nightmares and panic attacks every time he attempts to skate, Reese wonders if he'll ever play again or if he'll ever want to. We love mental health representation on this channel, and especially men's mental health representation. I feel like I'm about to cry. Anyway, Sadie Brown is staying focused this semester no matter what, currently drowning in debt, custody hearings for her younger brothers, and skating practices. She's just trying to make it to the next day. A Spitfire figure skater known for her bad attitude and frequent disappearing acts, Sadie has a reputation on campus, and it's not a pretty one. Relatable. When she accidentally witnesses one of the Golden Boy hockey captain's panic attacks and attempts to help him, a strange sort of understanding strikes up between them. No questions asked, just comfort. But Reese finds himself drawn to Sadie. When he feels empty, a shell of a man and a player he was before, Sadie is so full of everything, it bursts from her. Every emotion she feels like it's blasted at max volume. Reese is desperate to feel anything. Sadie wants to stop feeling so much, but healing doesn't mix with secrets, and they're both skating on thin ice. That sounds amazing. So this actually might be the first book that I read in 2026, or at least one of the first ones. I am going to make another video at some point going over it'll essentially be my January TBR. I know I said recently I don't make TBR videos, and I don't think that we're gonna start doing that, but January of this year is a little special because when I go home for Christmas, I actually have to stay in Atlanta with my parents for at least a month because my dad is gonna have surgery. So I've been thinking a lot this week about what physical books do I want to bring with me while I'm there. You bet your bottom dollar it's going to be this one. That's going to be included for sure. That sounds fucking amazing. Next book in this pile is Flawless by Elsie Silver. Would you believe that I literally have never read an Elsie Silver book?
Oh my.
Yeah, I know. I have a bunch on my shelf, but I've never read one. It's another one of those, I feel like I'm gonna love it, so why not just buy all of them? But girl, you gotta start reading them. I don't know that I will start with Flawless, but I do know that I will be reading Elsie Silver in 2026, and this is just the one that I picked, so I'm gonna read the back. And I'm pretty sure it's the first one in the series. This one says, the rules were simple. Keep his hands off his agent's daughter and stay out of trouble, but now he's stuck with her. There's only one bed and, well, rules are made to be broken. Ooh, another interesting name, Rhett. R-H-E-T-T. Rhett Eaton is the face of professional bull riding, the golden boy, or at least he was until it all blew up in his face after a public brawl. Now his agent says he has to clean up his image and sticks Rhett with his ball-busting daughter for the rest of the season as full-time supervision. But Rhett doesn't need a goddamn babysitter, especially one with skin-tight jeans, a sexy smirk, and a mouth she can't stop running. A mouth he can't stop thinking about. And he quickly learns that Summer Hamilton isn't just another conquest. She sees the man behind the mask and she doesn't run. She pulls him closer even when she shouldn't. Summer says this means nothing. Rhett says this means everything. She says there are boundaries they shouldn't cross, that Rhett's reputation can't take any more hits, and neither can her damaged heart. Rhett says he's going to steal it anyway. That sounds interesting. So like boss's daughter. Ooh. I also love the name Summer. That sounds amazing. Can't wait. The next thing on this list is super high on my TBR because I actually read one of the books in this series last year and I can't wait for Abby Jimenez to rip my heart to shreds. And that is Part of Your World. So last year, this year, I should be posting this video before the end of the year. Earlier this year, I read my first Abby Jimenez book, which unfortunately I don't have on my shelf because they still haven't released the paperback. Anyways, the first book that I read by Abby Jimenez earlier this year was her newest release, Say You'll Remember Me, and it is one of my top books of the year. I thought that book was absolutely incredible. A lot of people think it's depressing. To me, it was relatable. I love sad stories, and it was so sad and so relatable. I absolutely devoured it. Immediately after that, I jumped into another Abby Jimenez book. However, I didn't realize that it was part of a series and not the first one in a series. It happens. I read Yours Truly and didn't realize that it was the second one in Part of Your World. So we are going to read Abby Jimenez's backlist in 2026, and I might not be starting with Part of Your World, but this will obviously be one of them. Let's see what this book is about. After a wild bet, gourmet grilled cheese sandwich, and a cuddle with a baby goat, Alexis Montgomery has had her world turned upside down. The cause, Daniel Grant, a ridiculously hot carpenter who's 10 years younger than her, and as casual as they come, the complete opposite of sophisticated city girl Alexis. And yet their chemistry is undeniable. While her ultra-wealthy parents want her to carry on the family legacy of world-renowned surgeons, Alexis doesn't need glory or fame. She's fine with being a mere ER doctor. And every minute she spends with Daniel in the tight-knit town where she lives, she's discovering just what's really important. Yet letting their relationship become anything more than a short-term fling would mean turning her back on her family and giving up the opportunity to help thousands of people. Bringing Daniel into her world is impossible, and yet why are there so many justs on the back of the book? Girl, where is your editor? And yet she can't just give up the joy she's found with him either. With so many differences between them, how can Alexis possibly choose between her world and his? That sounds lovely. I love Abby Jimenez. If you've never read her books, she is literally the queen of balancing romantic comedies with absolutely shattering your fucking heart. If you're into that, definitely give her a shot. The next book in this pile is Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. This is very high on my TBR. It's another thing where, yes, literally, I cannot believe either that I have not read this. I know I need to, and I will. It's very high on the TBR. It says, Magnolia Parks is a beautiful, affluent, self-involved, and mildly neurotic London socialite. BJ Ballantyne is Britain's most notorious and photographed bad boy who broke her heart. But these two are meant to be, and everyone knows it. Magnolia and BJ are written in the stars, just suspended in a strange kind of love that looks like hurting each other a lot of the time. She dates other people to keep him at bay. He sleeps with other girls to get back at her for it. But at the end of their every sad endeavor to get over one another, it's still each other that they crawl back to. Finally, after years of this, their dysfunction is catching up with them, pulling at their seams and fraying the world they've built, but they're not ready to let go, not yet at least. As the cracks start to show and secrets begin to surface, Magnolia and BJ are forced to face the formidable question they've been avoiding all their lives: how many loves do you really get in a lifetime? Why is that gonna make me cry? God damn it. Anyways, hella toxic. Cannot wait to read this. Why are blurbs making me cry today? The next thing in my pile here is a very highly anticipated read, and that is Direbound by Sable Sorensen. Again, I know. How have I not read this yet? I don't know. This book is super thick and super floppy. This book says, only the worthy survive the bonding trials. She'll risk her life and her heart to be one of them. Maren Cooper has always hated the bonded, elite warriors who form mental links with the massive, vicious direwolves they ride. The bonded live in luxury where Maren struggles to keep her family out of poverty. And when her little sister Sayla is kidnapped, stolen across the border by the immortal monsters her country has spent centuries fighting, Maren's world falls apart. Desperate to cross the front and save her sister, Maren enlists in the army and is thrown into the deadly bonding trials where any mistake will cost her life. Now Maren must survive 4 months of training at the castle. She is bound to a feral dire wolf who refuses to communicate. The other trainees would love to spill her common blood, and her cold and beautiful instructor Stark Therion is eager to punish any weakness. Everything is a competition and everyone is out to get her, everyone except the dangerously handsome crown prince whose attention adds another target to her back. In the castle, every smile hides a knife and the halls hide dark secrets. It's bond or bleed, duel or die, failure is ruin. God damn. Also, is this why I choose? Is this a love throuple situation? What is going on? There was like 3 people mentioned here. Her instructor, a prince, and a wolf? Who is the male main character? I can't believe I've never read well, I can because I don't read the blurbs, but that sounds amazing. I'm so glad we're reading these because this is getting me so hyped for reading these books. Oh my God. The next book in my pile here is Bride by Ali Hazelwood. Yes, I have not read this yet. These are pretty much all gonna be books of like, oh my God, how have you not read this yet? Kind of why they're my 26 and 26, okay? I know, I need to catch up. I need to get with the times and read these super popular books. So this is Bride by Ali Hazelwood. This says, a vampire bride and an alpha werewolf form a dangerous alliance in this enthralling new paranormal romance. Misery Lark, daughter of a powerful vampire councilman, is an outcast. Her days of living anonymously among the humans are over. She has been called upon to uphold an alliance between the vampires and their mortal enemies, the Wares. Wares are ruthless and unpredictable, and their alpha, Lo Morland, is no exception. He rules his pack with absolute authority, but not without justice or feeling. It's clear from the way that he tracks Misery's every move that he doesn't trust her. If only he knew how right he was. Misery has her own reasons to agree to this marriage of convenience, reasons that have nothing to do with politics or alliances and everything to do with the only thing she's ever cared about, and she is willing to do whatever it takes to get back what's hers. Can't wait to read that. On a similar note of, oh my God, Amanda, where have you been? Have you not read this book? Twilight. I know I am so late to the game on this. Twilight literally came out in like 2005. Oh yeah, duh, the 20th anniversary literally just came out. I have not read Twilight. I only watched the movies for the first time, I think in 2019 or 2020, so I was also really late to watching the movies. It became an obsession. I love the Twilight movies, so I'm really hoping that I love the books just as much. This one does not really have a blurb on the back. It just says, about 3 things I was absolutely positive. First, Edward was a vampire. Second, there was a part of him and I didn't know how dominant that part might be that thirsted for my blood. And third, I was unconditionally and irrevocably in love with him. I think we all know what Twilight is about. I'm excited to read it. My next book that I want to read in 2026 is Phantasma by Kaylee Smith. This one says, Phantasma only has 2 rules: stay alive and don't fall in love. When Ophelia discovers her mother's brutally murdered, there is no time to grieve. She has inherited the family's fearsome magic and enormous debt. Circumstances go from dire to deadly. However, when Ophelia's sister decides to pay off the loan by entering Phantasma, a competition where contestants rarely escape alive and the victor is granted a single wish. The only way for Ophelia to save her sister is to win. But Phantasma is a cursed manor full of twisting corridors and lavish ballrooms staffed by enticing demons and fatal temptations, and Ophelia must conquer all 9 floors to succeed, if her fears don't overtake her first. When a charming, arrogant stranger claims he can help, Ophelia knows better than to trust him. But with her sister's life on the line, Ophelia can't afford to turn him away. She'll just need to ignore the overwhelming dark attraction drawing them closer and closer together, because in Phantasma, the only thing deadlier than losing the game is losing your heart. That sounds excellent. This is a dark fantasy that is very spicy, so if that's not your thing, move along, but I cannot wait to read this. Next here is The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This, thankfully, I own the entire box set of, so no need to worry about buying the rest of them, which I think is like that for most of these, to be honest. I pretty much own, if these are in a series, I pretty much own all of them, or at least the ones that are out so far. I think the only one that I don't own all of them in is Magnolia Parks. Anyways, The Naturals. This was recommended to me by one of my book friends on Fable because she knows that I love Criminal Minds and basically said if you love Criminal Minds, you would love this book. So this says, cold cases are about to get hot. 17-year-old Cassie Hobbs is a natural at reading people. Piecing together the tiniest details, she can tell who you are and what you want. But it's not a skill that she's ever taken seriously. That is until the FBI comes knocking. They've begun a classified program that uses exceptional teenagers to crack infamous cold cases, and they need Cassie. What Cassie doesn't realize is that there's more at risk than a few unsolved homicides, especially when she's sent to live with a group of teens whose gifts are as unusual as her own. Soon it becomes clear that no one in the Naturals program is what they seem, and when a new killer strikes, danger looms close. Caught in a lethal game of cat and mouse with a killer, the Naturals are going to have to use all their gifts just to survive. I read this blurb a couple of months ago when I first bought this box set in my box set book haul video, and it still sounds equally as entertaining, and I cannot wait to read this. Next on my list of, wow, Amanda, where have you been? How have you not read this series yet? Is Binding 13 by Chloe Walsh. This one I've been kind of putting off because I know how emotionally distraught I'm gonna be, and I've just kind of been waiting for the time to do that. Maybe, no, I don't think I want to do that while I'm in Georgia. Anyways, if you don't know what Binding 13 is about, it says, he wants to save her, she wants to hide, she's damaged, he's determined, fate brought them together, love binds them. Johnny Kavanaugh has everything going for him. On the rugby pitch, he's a force to be reckoned with, even plagued with a hidden injury. Everyone knows he's heading straight for the top, but that means there's no room for mistakes or distractions. Not even the shy new girl at Tom in college, the one with the sad eyes and concealed bruises. He needs to stay focused, keep his cool, and not let anything get in the way of the bigger picture. Except before he knows it, this lonely girl has become his only picture. Life has never been easy for Shannon Lynch. Bullied and tortured, she arrives at Tom in college midway through the school year, praying for a fresh start and desperate to shake off the demons that plague her. But when she meets the notorious Johnny Kavanaugh on her first day, her plans to keep a low profile are at serious risk. As they fall into a complicated friendship and grapple with their undeniable chemistry, hidden pain and complicated secrets threaten to be their undoing, but Johnny won't give up on Shannon no matter what it might cost them both. I can't wait to read this. I know it's gonna shatter me. This is also really giving me like Skins vibes. Skins, the UK show, you know? Oh, my heart is already breaking and I haven't even started reading it. Totally switching gears, and again in the same vein of Amanda, how have you not read this yet, is Throne of Glass. I actually have not read anything by Sarah J Maas up until this point, though I am buying her entire backlist because I'm really hoping that she's going to change my life like she's changed everyone else's life. We are going to read Throne of Glass. The back says, lethal, loyal, legendary. In a land without magic, an assassin is summoned to the castle. She has no love for the vicious king who rules his throne of glass, but she has not come to kill him. She has come to win her freedom. If she defeats 23 murderers, thieves, and warriors in a competition, she will be released from prison to serve as the king's champion. Her name is Selena Sardothian. The crown prince will provoke her, the captain of the guard will protect her, and a prince from a faraway country will befriend her. But something rotten dwells in the castle, and it's there to kill. When her competitors start dying mysteriously, one by one, Selena's fight for freedom becomes a fight for survival, and a desperate quest to root out the evil before it destroys her world. Sounds awesome. Can't wait to read it. The next book that I am very excited to read in 2026 is Shield of Sparrows by Devney Perry. I'm really sad that I did not get to this year. I bought this, I think like at the exact same time that I bought Silver Elite. I was really planning on reading this after Silver Elite, and then I decided to read Quicksilver, and it took over my life. This one says, if you're not terrified, you're doing it wrong. Long ago, the gods unleashed monsters upon the 5 kingdoms of Calandra to remind us that humans are insignificant, that we must pray to the gods for mercy throughout our fragile, fleeting lives. I didn't need a deity to remind me I was powerless. Being a princess had never been more than a performance. 23 years of empty titles and hollow traditions. My sister revels in the spectacle, basking in the attention and flawlessly playing her part. I was never asked to be part of the charade. Until the day an infamous monster hunter sailed to our shores. The day a prince walked into my father's throne room and ruined my life. The day I married a stranger, signed a magical treaty in blood, and set off across the continent to the most treacherous kingdom in all the realm. That day, oh my god, can she read? That was the day I learned that not all myths are make-believe, that lies and legends are often the same, and that the only way to kill the monsters we fear was to become one. Interesting. Marriage of Convenience? It's interesting. I really wish I had the special edition cover of this because this only has like a little bit of spot varnish on it, but this special edition It's so pretty. I wish Target would let you like exchange a book you already bought for a newer version of it. That would be really cool. The next book in my pile here is Belladonna by Adeline Grace. This is one of the, I don't know that I actually ever showed this in any of my book hauls. Maybe I forgot to add it, but I bought this at some point this year and I bought the box set. So I do have all three and they are beautiful hardcover editions. Wait for it. The naked hardcovers are stunning. This says, "It's said that 5 belladonna berries are all it takes to kill someone." And honestly, like this cover, I feel like fits the vibe way more than the actual cover of the book because these are gothic. Cover's not really giving gothic whatsoever, but the naked hardcover is. It says, "For as long as Signa Farrow has been alive, the people in her life have fallen like stars. Orphaned as a baby, 19-year-old Signa has been raised by a string of guardians, each more interested in her wealth than her well-being, and each has met an untimely end. Her remaining relatives are the elusive Hawthorns, an eccentric family living at Thorn Grove, an estate both glittering and gloomy. Its patriarch mourns his late wife through wild parties while his son grapples for control of the family's waning reputation and his daughter suffers from a mysterious illness. But when their mother's restless spirit appears claiming she was poisoned, Signa realizes that the family she depends on could be in grave danger and enlists the help of a surely stable boy to hunt down the killer. However, Signa's best chance of uncovering the murderer is an alliance with Death himself, a fascinating, dangerous shadow who has never been far from her side. Though he's made her life a living hell, Death shows Signa that their growing connection may be more powerful and more irresistible than she ever dared imagine." Interesting. So I knew that Death was a personified literal character in this book, but is he the male main character? Shadow Daddy. That sounds amazing. Totally switching gears here. You know we're getting into Red Rising in 2026. If you've not heard about this, where have you been? You live under a rock? Because this is the most popular sci-fi at the moment. It is actually not a new release. This book came out in 2014 and for some reason is just now like really taking the internet by storm. All the back says is his wife taken, his people enslaved, driven by a longing for justice and the memory of lost love, Darrow will stop at nothing to bring down his enemies even if he must become one of them to do so. I mentioned this in my book haul where I showed that I bought this series, the other ones are over there, that I have just been severely influenced by Bailey and Emmy, who just recently read this and absolutely devoured it, sobbing on the internet, throwing books. I can't wait for the emotional devastation of this series. The next book on my pile here is Hush Hush by Becca Fitzpatrick. This is also an older book. This came out in 2009. So this is around the same time that Twilight was getting really popular. Not that they're the same, but I feel like they are really in the same genre, same subgenre even. So this one says, "A sacred oath, a fallen angel, a forbidden love. When Nora and Patch are forced together as lab partners, Nora would rather fall to her death than put up with his elusive answers to her questions, his teasing and his infuriatingly handsome face and hypnotizing eyes. It seems Patch was put on Earth just to drive her crazy. But long before Nora's defenses start to break down as her curiosity about Patch heats up. Why does he always seem to be wherever she is and know exactly what she's thinking? How does he know what to say to both attract and repulse her? And what is up with those V-shaped scars on his chiseled back?" As their connection grows stronger, Nora's own life becomes increasingly fragile. Nora needs to decide, is Patch the one who wants to do her harm or the one who will keep her safe? Has she fallen for one of the fallen? Very interesting. I feel like this is, I don't know, it's giving like Vampire Diaries, but like obviously slightly different. I think that one will be very interesting. Totally switching gears here. I think this is the only like dark romance besides Phantasma. This is the only dark romance with no fantasy element that's in this pile, which is wild because dark romance is where I started. I know, can you guys believe it that I have not read Legacy of Gods? Not a single one. I have not read any of them. I have really wanted to read God of Fury because if there's one thing about me, I love an MM romance, but my OCD told me I have to read these in order. We're gonna start with book 1, which is God of Malice by Rena Kent. This says, "Don't romanticize me or you'll be eaten alive." Killian Carson is a predator wrapped in sophisticated charm. He's cold-blooded, manipulative, and vicious. Though his charisma and intelligence fool everyone, Glendon sees right through him. She sees the psychopath within, and though her brain tells her to run, there's a secret part of her that knows the monster will only chase her, and she may want to get caught. That is a hideous name, by the way. Glendon? I love Killian, but Glendon? Anyway, Glendon King has never felt like anyone's favorite. Her mother and brothers are the artistic talents in the family, and she knows she will never live up to anyone's expectations. But Killian, he has no expectations except that she is now his. It doesn't matter that their schools are rivals or that their families have been enemies since before they were born. Their possessive, all-consuming desire may be able to drown out everything else. But can two people with broken souls truly repair the broken parts of each other's psyche? Can their dark and sinful desire overcome their history? When it turns out those parts are more disturbingly intertwined than they thought, they may come out stronger, or it may be their unraveling. I love a psychopath. What can I say? Can't wait. The next book in this pile is A Tongue So Sweet and Deadly, which is the first book in the Compelling Fates saga by Sophia St. Germain. I honestly don't know anything about this, but look at this cover. It's so pretty. I always only see it on Kindle, and like being able to see it in person in all its detail. Gorgeous. The back says, half Fae Alessia could have had everything, literally. Since her magic allows her to compel anyone to do her bidding by merely looking into their eyes, the world was at her feet. But after a tragic accident, she is thrown into a Fae King's dungeon and forced to swear a blood oath to him, binding her to his service. 5 years later, she's living amongst humans in Elo and has created a life for herself as best she can, with the king's promise to call in his debt looming over her. When he finally comes to collect, she is made to infiltrate the human elections to determine whether her current regent is involved in the strange things happening in the land of Fae. With the promise of freedom from the king's claws, Alessia is determined to see it through. Liberty is within reach as long as she can keep the lethal Fae guard watching over her from eliminating her before she unearths the information the king seeks. But as she grows closer to the brooding human regent and secrets begin to unravel, Alessia realizes greater forces may be at play, and she might stand before the choice between her own freedom and that of a nation. Sounds interesting. I like the name, Alessia. It's a cute little baby map on the inside. Next in my pile here is, of course, Conform by Ariel Sullivan. I am so excited about this and very excited to read what it's about. This says, in the far future, one young woman becomes torn between two loves and two sides of a rebellion in the first novel of a sweeping dystopian romance series. Listen, you already got me. Dystopian and a love triangle. Ooh. Hardcover is pretty. Sorry, distracted. A lifelong outcast, 27-year-old Emmeline spends her days alone sorting ancient art for destruction. Centuries after a catastrophic war nearly decimated humanity, society is now ruled by an elusive and technologically advanced group called the Illum, who constantly monitor the population's health and mandate procreation contracts. But her bleak existence is shattered when, for the first time in decades, an Illum named Colin takes a mate, Emmeline. Baffled as to why she was chosen, Emmeline is swept into the dangerous game of the courting phase, where one wrong move can mean elimination. Soon she discovers that a clandestine rebellion is rising and that her mate may be keeping secrets of his own. Colin is confusing, both cold and protective, and worse, she finds herself drawn to the very last person she should be falling for, Hal, a member of the Resistance. As she draws closer to both Colin and Hal, the Illum exercise their power in increasingly brutal ways, forcing Emmeline to question everything, and most of all, whether she'll have to give up her heart or even her life to stop them. I have goosebumps. That one sounds so good. I cannot wait to read that. Next in my pile here is Book Lovers by Emily Henry. You might be wondering why. This is kind of random. Much like Abby Jimenez, I discovered Emily Henry this year. Though it started on a much rockier track than it did with Abby Jimenez. The first book that I ever read by Emily Henry was her newest release this year, which was A Great Big Beautiful Life, and to me was a great big beautiful flop. I absolutely hated that book. So then you may be asking yourself, why did you then go and read Emily Henry's other books? Well, my mom read Beach Read earlier this year, loved it so much that she basically forced me to read it, and I ended up loving it as well. It was the first book that I ever annotated, and it's heavily annotated. I absolutely loved Beach Read. So since then, I have bought all of Emily Henry's backlist. So I'm just showing this one because it's the one that I picked up. Let's see what Book Lovers is about. One summer, two rivals, a plot twist they didn't see coming. Nora Stevens' life is books. She's read them all, and she is not that type of heroine. Not the plucky one, not the laid-back dream girl, and especially not the sweetheart. In fact, the only people Nora is a heroine for are her clients, for whom she lands enormous deals as a cutthroat literary agent and her beloved little sister Libby. Which is why when she agrees to go to Sunshine Falls, North Carolina for the month of August, when Libby begs her for a sister trip away, with visions of a small town, transformation for... Oh my god, this is such a long sentence. Emily Henry, what the fuck? Let's try that again. Which is why when she agrees to go to Sunshine Falls, North Carolina for the month of August, when Libby begs her for a sister's trip away, with visions of a small town transformation for Nora, who she's convinced needs to become the heroine in her own story. But instead of picnics in meadows or run-ins with a handsome country doctor or bulging four-armed bartender, Nora keeps something into Charlie Lastra, a bookish, brooding editor from back in the city. It would be a meet cute if not for the fact that they've met many times and it's never been cute. If Nora knows she's not an ideal heroine, Charlie knows he's nobody's hero. But as they are thrown together again and again in a series of coincidences no editor worth their salt would allow, what they discover might just unravel the carefully crafted stories they've written about themselves. Sounds adorable, much like Emily Henry's other books. Can't wait to read it. Next on this list is Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. I love YA books, and I especially love YA romance books. There's just something so romantic. Usually they involve a lot of yearning. There's typically not any spice. If there is, it's usually closed doors. That just makes them so much more romantic, in my opinion. Cannot wait to read this. This says, Liz Buxom has always known that Wes Bennett was not boyfriend material. You would think that her next door neighbor would be a prime candidate for her romantic comedy fantasies, but Wes has only proven himself to be a pain in the butt ever since they were little. Wes was the kid who put a frog in her Barbie dream house, the monster who hid a lawn gnome's severed head in her little homemade neighborhood book exchange. Flash forward 10 years from the great gnome decapitation. It's Lizzie's senior year, a time meant to be rife with milestones, perfect for any big screen, and she needs Wes's help. See, Lizzie's forever crush Michael has just moved back into town, and horribly annoyingly, he's hitting it off with Wes. Meaning that if Liz wants Michael to finally notice her and hopefully her prom date, she needs Wes, he's her in. But as Liz and Wes scheme to get Liz her magical prom moment, she's shocked to discover that she actually likes being around Wes. And as they continue to grow closer, she must re-examine everything she thought she knew about love and rethink her own perception of what happily ever after should really look like. Oh, doesn't that sound absolutely adorable? I think by the cover and by the title, this is probably going to include a lot of rom-com tropes on purpose. We love to see it. Next on my list is Lightlark by Alex Astor. This says, welcome to the Centennial. Every 100 years, the island of Lightlark appears for only 100 days to host a deadly game where the rulers of 6 realms fight to break their curses and win unparalleled power. Each ruler has something to hide. Each curse is uniquely wicked. To break them and save themselves and their realms, one ruler must die. To survive, it's the crown must lie, cheat, betray. Interesting. I was hoping this cover is so gorgeous. Love it. Next on my list is another oldie. This is City of Bones by Cassandra Clare, which is the first book in the Mortal Instruments. This is, I believe, a 6-book series that I have to read before getting into the Infernal Devices. No better place to start. And also, this book came out in 2007. Love it. This says, when Clary Frey heads out to the Pandemonium Club in New York City, she hardly expects to witness a murder, much less a murder committed by 3 teenagers covered with odd markings. This is Clary's first meeting with the Shadowhunters, warriors dedicated to ridding the earth of demons and keeping the odd werewolves and vampires in line. It's also her first meeting with gorgeous, golden-haired Jace. Within 24 hours, Clary is pulled into Jace's world with a vengeance, when her mother disappears and Clary finds herself attacked by a demon. But why would demons be interested in an ordinary mundane like Clary? And how did she suddenly get the sight? The Shadowhunters would like to know. I am literally so excited to get into the Shadowhunters world. Emmy has not shut up about it since she started reading this earlier this year. Fun loves this series and read it when it first came out, and I just can't wait to see what the hype is about this book, this author, this world. Next on my list is Zodiac Academy by the Twisted Sisters, aka Carolyn Peckham and Suzanne Valenti. This says, I'm a Gemini, impulsive, curious, headstrong, a twin, heir to a throne I know nothing about, and it turns out I'm Fae. But of course there's a catch. All I have to do to claim my birthright is prove that I'm the most powerful supernatural in the whole of Solaria. And sure, technically that's true, as I'm the daughter of the Savage King, but the bit they didn't put in the brochure was that every single Fae in the kingdom would claim my throne if they could. In this deadly academy, vampires bite weaker students in the corridors. The werewolf pack has orgies in the Wailing Wood at every full moon, and don't even get me started on the twisted ways the sirens use their powers on people's emotions, or how my sinfully tempting cardinal magic professor hosts detentions that leave people needing therapy. Classes are totally interesting if you manage to live through them, and the Gemini star sign I mentioned. It now determines my elemental magic and affects my destiny, so learning astrology is essential if I'm going to beat down my classmates, which is actively encouraged, by the way. My biggest problem is the dark-hearted dragon shifter who has his eyes on my throne. He and his 3 psycho friends are determined to make my time here hell, and all I've got to do is survive, but fate might have other ideas. Damn it, why couldn't I have gotten a letter to Hogwarts? I have seen so many people talk about this book, good and bad, and I totally understand the bad after reading the back. But honestly, I don't mind it. I think it's going to be a silly, emotional, spicy fantasy time. Literally can't wait. I'm honestly so excited to read that. All right, we're in the home stretch. 3 more books. So this will be book number 24 in this pile is, of course, A Thort? Amanda, my God. A Thort, my goodness. A Court of Thorn and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. I mentioned earlier, I have not read anything by Sarah J. Maas before, and that includes ACOTAR. I know. Listen, I only got into fantasy a couple of months ago. I'm only like 5 or 6 books deep in fantasy. So this I know is going to be amazing. At least I hope it's going to be amazing. This says, when 19-year-old huntress Fair kills a wolf in the woods, a terrifying creature arrives to demand retribution. Dragged to a treacherous magical land she knows about only from legends, Fair discovers that her captor is not truly a beast, but one of the lethal immortal fairies who once ruled her world. At least he's not a beast all the time. As she adapts to her new home, her feelings for the fairy Tamlin transform from icy hostility into fiery passion that burns through every lie she's been told about the beautiful, dangerous world of the Fae. But something is not right in the fairy lands. An ancient, wicked shadow is growing, and Fair must find a way to stop it or doom Tamlin and his world forever. That honestly sounds so incredible. I can't wait to read it. Oh my God. Next to last book is The Beautiful Hollow. I'm going to show this again real quick, just in case you guys didn't watch my last book haul. This is the most beautiful book that I own, especially because the inside artwork, this man looks exactly like my partner. This says, the great hunt begins once every 50 years and only the champions willing to face death to shatter the curse dare to enter. The champions and me. I'm no warrior, no swordsmith, and certainly no fae, but the forest is my only hope. To enter those trees is to walk willingly to my demise. But I need the boon the forest will grant the winner, and I'm willing to risk it all for a chance at claiming it. I just never expected to face him beneath those trees, the beast who strikes fear into the desperate people of all lands, the monster who commands the legion of hollows and makes our plight 1,000 times worse. The hollows are empty of all things, but none are so heartless as him. Prince Bane intends to be the death of me, but I have an oath to fulfill before I'll let him have me, and I'll do whatever it takes to achieve it. I am Ferris Creed, and I'm going to unite the lost spirits who once bound the wandering trees in place, return the scattered amulets to the core of its corruption, and use the winner's boon to change my fate. Come wretchedness or torment, through trickery and deception, I will get what I came here for, and no one will stand in my way, not even Prince Bane. I assume this man is a dragon shifter, and I can't wait. The character art in that book is stunning. Rarely do you ever see people of color, especially men of color, in fantasy romance books, and I can't wait to read it. Last book in this video, the last book that is on my list for the 26 and 26 is, of course, the first book in the Legacy series by Melissa K. Rourke, which is Reign of Shadows and Endings. This says, a world the gods forgot. Of all the worlds and life they created, the gods favored their children the most. But with the favor that came the fear that, what the fuck is that sentence? But with that favor came the fear that their legacy would one day become too powerful and overthrow them. Devrem was created, a realm hidden amongst the stars. The gods gave their legacy the best of all the worlds, and then they left, a sworn agreement to never return and to never interfere. A historical event. Forced to a life of servitude, the Fae are required to provide for the legacy in more ways than one. Every 5 years, the eligible Fae are gathered for the selection and assigned to serve in one of the 6 kingdoms. To be chosen as the personal source for a kingdom heir is the greatest honor, and for the first time in a millennia, all 6 kingdoms have heirs choosing a source. But their selections could tip the power balance a little too far. A chosen source that was never meant to be. Tessalin Asura was as forgotten as the realm, but when she finds herself the personal source to the heir of endings, she winds up serving the darkest kingdom of them all. The secrets within the Arius kingdom are meant to be learned and kept, but this was never the life she wanted. Fighting not only the fate thrust upon her, but the temptation to lose herself to desire, Tessa will do anything to escape her new destiny, until she starts to realize maybe their world wasn't as forgotten as they thought, and maybe she's the reason why. That sounds absolutely amazing. I couldn't even tell you guys which book I'm more excited to read because these all sound so good. Should I start reading the blurb? It's hyped me up so much to read these books now. I can't wait. Thank you guys so much if you stuck around and watched this entire video. Please let me know below if any of these books are in your 26 in 26. Let me know what your 26 books in 26 look like. If any of these sound super duper exciting to you, let me know below. Just let me know all the things below. As always, thank you so much for supporting me. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.